talking about the two biggest stressors in our lives and how they affect our health. Now we're talking about sleep. We spend all day waiting for that moment, that precious moment when we can curl up into bed and sleep. But the minute our head hits the pillow, our thoughts take off. They take off and our mind starts to race. So I want you to take a look at why your unquiet mind makes it impossible to settle down. There's actually a physical reason for it, so you don't have to beat yourself up. Who wants to help explain this? Show of hands. Oh, come on, perfect. I got a promising victim here. What's your name?
Jerry.
Come on, Jerry. Are you a good sleeper?
I try to be.
You try to be a good sleeper. All right, I want you to do something for me. We think about sleep as an on-off switch, right? We're asleep or we're not asleep. That's the metaphor we normally use. So pretend this light switch is your brain and turn it off. Pretend you go to sleep, the other side, over here, right in the front. Click it down. Now watch what happens. Ooh, that was well done, a lot of power, right? So that on-off switch seems to make sense, but in reality, let's turn it back up again, right? That's actually not what happens. You actually have a dimmer, not a switch, but a dimmer that runs your life. So slowly begin to dim the audience. Go ahead and play with it, have a good time. As you slowly dim it down, you gradually slip into sleep. It's not a jump, it's gradual, right?
Makes sense.
Now, here you are, nice and asleep, very calm everyone down. We can whisper. All right, now, what kinds of things might keep you up at night? Give me an idea.
I worry about the next day.
All right, the next day, every time that little worry hits you, your dimmer starts to release a little bit. You'll notice your ability to sleep begins to also go away because your mind begins to brighten up. Keep going. What else bothers you?
I replay the current day in my head.
Go ahead. Keep going.
What I thought went well, what I thought didn't go well. I might replay conversations
Oh, the
in my
light's
head.
blinding me. I can barely see.
And then I start thinking about the to-do list for the next day what's coming.
Now you're all the way up. You just perfectly said everything that typically gets into our minds. And as we're on that hamster wheel rolling through, the lights in our mind go up. This is exactly what happens to so many of us. In fact, it happened to Andrea. She's a busy mom of 24. Think about that, mom of 24.
24?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. Well, 22 of them were her fifth grade kids because she's a teacher.
Ha ha ha.
And 2 of her own. And every night her mind is racing and she can't get the sleep she needs. See if you can relate.
I would love to get a good night's sleep, but my mind is constantly racing. I get into bed and I toss and turn. I have all the thoughts of the day, all the thoughts of the following day. I feel like I'm on a racetrack that I can't get off, and I'm going round and round and round. There are many things that I worry about. I worry about my son who's away at college. He's 11 hours away from me. My daughter who just graduated from college.
That looks like a good place to send your resume.
She's looking for a job. I have an 85-year-old dad. He lives alone. So I worry about him eating and taking good care of himself. And on top of that, I'm a teacher. I have 20 students that I'm responsible for 5 days a week. Sometimes I fall asleep, but 2 hours later, I'm wide awake. So I'll get up on bed, I'll walk around the house, put the TV on, and then the alarm goes off, then I have not had a very good night's sleep, and it impacts my day. I'm very cranky the next day. I feel like I don't have the patience that I might have otherwise. I feel like I'm in a fog. I don't have willpower. I start to reach for foods that aren't healthy for me. I'm a coffee drinker, so it's this vicious cycle. I grab another cup of the caffeine, and then that impacts my sleeping again because that keeps me awake even more at night. I just wish that I could stop my mind from racing at night, get a good night's sleep, and everybody would be happier.
So Andrea is here. How do you feel in the morning after a restless night of sleep?
I feel groggy. I feel like my fuse is very short. I feel like I don't have the capacity to make good choices like I might otherwise. Somewhat the next day, I feel like I go through the motions, like got to make the donuts, kind of on automatic pilot. And then physically, I lost about 80 pounds 4 years ago. And
You
I've
did?
kept, yes, and
That's
I kept
so
then I've
good.
kept it off. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So what happens with me is I start making bad choices. I'm too tired to go to the gym. I start grabbing the carbs that I need to, not be eating. And so the emotional and the physical take a toll.
These rapid paced thoughts you're having, racing through your mind, they're all a classic sign of anxiety. The problem with anxiety is lots of motion, but not much progress, right? It's like a rocking chair. Back and forth, but nothing's happening. And they affect your physical health, as you alluded to. So if you look behind me, we took a little diary of your sleep. And this is information that you reported to us, so I'm hoping you have some awareness of it. But at most, you're getting 4 to 5 hours a night.
Yes, I would say that's probably a good estimate.
And I'm not even sure how much of that is quality sleep. So how does that lack of sleep affect your mood? You've described how it affects how much you eat, which it does, by the way. You'll eat more, but how does it affect your mood?
Well, again, I need a lot of patience. Having children, I need a lot of patience, and I feel like I'm not present a lot of the time.
When was the last time you had a really good sleep? Just felt it was completely relaxing,
Months
rejuvenating?
ago. Months ago.
So I'm so happy you're here.
Thanks for
because the
having
question
me.
we're all asking is, what can you do to quiet your mind and stop it from racing at night? So one of my core team members will reveal a plan that you will benefit from, and so will many others. Today, the plan to quiet your mind so you can get a good night's sleep. Sleep specialist Dr. Michael Bruce is here. He's one of my core experts. So, Andrea, she says she's tired all day long, yet at nighttime when she wants to go to bed, she's all wound up. So why is this happening?
So this is a very common occurrence for people like Andrea. I was listening to your story, and I hear patients like you all the time. You know, what happens is that people spend a tremendous amount of time on worry. We're learning now almost 14 hours a week. I mean, can you imagine? There's so much better things you could do with your time, right? And we know that the number one symptom of worry is sleeplessness.
So we can't always resolve the worries, the things that actually keep us up at night. Then there are pressures that are going to be out there no matter what. But we can do something about how we process them. So come on over here.
Absolutely.
We're going to create something called a Worry Watch Journal. Now, this is really important. And of course, you're going to start with the to-do list because people make to-do lists. But you say this is much bigger than that.
It is.
Take us from the very beginning of a to-do list and how do we get rid of these lists that are bothering us, keeping us up at night.
Sure. So here's our typical to-do list, which is actually something that's very common. People will put things on there to try to see, okay, here's what I need to do tomorrow. Or just like Andrea was saying, she might be replaying what happened in the day, conversations, things like that. Some of these things are very easy. Pack a lunch, pay the phone bill, but some of them actually require a lot more to it, and that's where the worry comes in, right? So as an example, look at these. Fix the budget. Well, that's not something that you can just do tomorrow. Lose 10 pounds or clean the garage. These are all things that have a lot more to it, and that's where the worry comes from, right? You can see she's shaking her head. She knows what I'm talking about. So what I want people to do is pick one and then actually come up with simple, practical solutions to get you started on the path to fixing that. So as an example, let's use lose 10 pounds as one thing that we're going to check out here. So if you were going to use lose 10 pounds, right, then practically, what would you do to do that? So here are the practical steps that she would do. She might want to call the gym. She would schedule a workout. She might ask a friend to join. And this is very, very simple. All she needs is a piece of paper and a pen and about 10 minutes, usually right after dinner time. You don't want to do it right before bed because that might start those wheels turning again, right? And be able to say, here are the practical things that I need to do to try to solve my lose the 10 pounds problem. And then from there, I'm going to close that journal and I'm going to put it away. And I'm going to let my mind realize that I've been able to reduce that level of anxiety. That's not something I have to worry about anymore because I've got a plan and I'm going to get to it.
So Andrea, give me one item you might put in your worry journal. Now that you understand what it is. More than a to-do list, a big item keeping up at night that you can put in the worry journal.
Ways I can help my dad be independent. And make a list of things like that and know that if he follows those things, I have less to worry about with him taking care of himself.
Yeah, see, that's a perfect example. Very practical steps so that you can reduce your worry surrounding somebody that you care about.
All right, next step, light, which is a weapon, unfortunately. They're going to put little warning labels, I think, on lights because they're so big of an issue right now. What can we do to help get to bed better by dealing with light more effectively?
Well, it turns out that people who have a lot on their mind do a lot at night. And they're up late at night and they're exposed to light. And we know that light actually affects your ability to produce something called melatonin. We know that melatonin is that hormone that is kind of that key that starts the engine for sleep. So there's a lot of things that we need to consider doing when it comes to light.
So let me show you what Dr. Bruce is trying to share with us. It turns out that normally your body's sleep clock is completely in sync with melatonin, which is important because when the sun's rays get longer, go from morning till night, the body will naturally make more melatonin. And that tells you it's nighttime and it tells you to go to sleep. But when you are continually exposed to light at night, from light bulbs and computer screens, it actually suppresses your melatonin, tells your body it's too early to go to bed, so you don't want to go to bed. And then this happens. You're trying to get to bed, you're knocking yourself out miserably, right? This, unfortunately, is a picture, self-portrait for many of you, and you can't get to sleep because your body is telling you not to. So the worriers,
right,
are dealing with this as well. But it turns out we might have an option for all these folks.
We do, as a matter of fact. And so one of the things that a lot of people like to do before bed is they like to read to help calm themselves down because it can be very soothing. But there's now data to show that these e-readers and the tablets, if you start reading one of those within 12 minutes, it will start to suppress your melatonin level. So what should we do? We should go back to the printed page. We should have the books in our hands. We should read that way, maybe have a bedside table lamp so that we don't have so much bright light exposure coming right at our faces.
Right, and if you don't, even with this tactic, have the ability to get to sleep? What kind of a sleep aid do you use?
Well, you know what? I'm not a big fan of sleeping pills, but I do like people using melatonin and melatonin supplements. They're very safe, highly effective, and they can do people a lot of good. Because remember, what we're talking about here is that their body clock has shifted due to this light exposure. That's exactly what melatonin does, right? Melatonin allows our bodies to capture back that evening. You know, we call melatonin the vampire hormone because it only comes out in darkness.
Right.
Well, if we have light and all these things that are preventing us from getting to that darkness level, it actually prevents that melatonin. So sometimes we may need a supplement to be able to get us there.
All right, so our trusted sponsorship partner, USANA, makes a melatonin supplement. It's called Pure Rest. Now, you say you don't normally recommend sleeping pills. Do you not consider this one?
I do not consider this to be a sleeping pill, right? So melatonin is a naturally occurring hormone. This is a high quality supplement, right? It is a great alternative. It's non-addictive. It's all the things that we kind of look for, especially as a first step.
So what's the best way to take melatonin? Give us the basics.
Okay, so the basics are dosage turns out to be key. Right? And so people have heard me say before, 1 milligram turns out to be great. What's great about this product here is that it's a scored 2 milligram tablet, so you can crack it in half and start out with 1. The second thing is timing. Now, usually I tell people, well, you probably need to take it almost an hour and a half before bedtime, but this particular formulation you put under your tongue, so it actually gets into your system quicker, so you can actually use this, within 30 to 60 minutes, and the melatonin will reach plasma concentration levels to be effective.
And what happens if you still have the problem after a couple weeks?
If you still have the problem after a couple weeks, and you're using your Worry Watch journal and you're still having some issues, it might be time to talk with your doctor because there might be some other things that could be going on that's preventing you from sleeping.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss out on new videos to live the good life.